Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth. I want to teach kids the Christian truth. If you want to reach those kids on the street, then you gotta do a rap to a hip-hop beat. So I gave my sermon an urban kick. My rhymes are fly, my beats are sick. My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's 'cause Jesus Christ is my nigga. Woo! He's a life changer, miracle arranger, born to the virgin mom in a manger. Water to wine, he's a drink exchanger, and he died for your sins. I preach the word, that's my gig, and I rhyme better than Notorious Big. All the other MCs, I wish them well, but if you live in sin, you burn in hell. Now I'ma pass the mic to my lovely wife. She's a fly MC and the light of my life. So to bust a rhyme without further ado, take it away, Mary Sue.
Jesus Christ is my nigga. He's the son of the original G. And he was sent to earth to elucidate the way that we should be. What? Like if another MC says you're a freak, you're a lame butt rapper and your rhymes are weak. I don't get mad and I don't critique. I forgive him and turn the other cheek. I don't blaspheme and I don't brag. I don't cuss and my pants don't sag. I do exude a little Christian swag and I'm proud to be an American.
Jesus Christ is a nigga. Let his light shine through ya. Let his love pop a cap in your butt and say hallelujah. Jesus Christ is a nigga. He's a homie MC, JC, you see. He's an honest, caring, peace-loving nigga like me. If you do drugs and you think you're cool, you need to come to Sunday school. Put those drugs in a garbage can. Stand up tall, you're a Christian man. Word up. I'm freestyling.
Hit me.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode, gang. Today's show is going to be a fucking significant one. So before we get into it, go ahead, pour something in a cup, light a little something up, greet your neighbors, kick back and enjoy the music. It is time to catch a vibe before we jump into the meat of the fucking meal today. All right, let's go ahead and get this going. Boop, 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 boop.
Everything as it was. Everything
TT is perfectly acceptable.
goes. Am I out of my head now? For wanting more than love. Every
Cheers,
child's
gang.
agenda undone.
Here's to all of you guys. Thanks for joining me.
Opinions and reaching zero sum. 5 years from now is nostalgia, no fun. Thinking, I wanna see how far this will go. Wanna meet who, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a new one.
Wanna see how far this will go.
I just saw it today. It was so good.
I'm coming down, got a case of it all.
see the punk. That shit was great. Good work, man.
Channel out the ambition, or give the struggle up. And when I made my decision, I'm stuck. Thinking, I wanna see how far this will go. Wanna meet who, I don't know. Wanna see how far this will go. I'm going down, got a case of it all. Going down, nearly burning me up in the atmosphere. How to get what you want, how to disappear. I'm going down, got a case of it all. Going down, nearly burning me up in the atmosphere. How to get what you want, how to disappear.
Nice. Glad to have you guys. Say hi to the animals for us. She's playing the drum too. That was great. All right, gang, we got one more for you. Let's go ahead and get straight into it.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Music loud and women walk. Been kicked around since I was born. And nothing's gonna change the way we live. Cause we can always take but never give. And now that things are changing for the worse. See, oh, life's going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Well, now I get low and I get high, and if I can't get either, I really try. Got the wings of heaven on my shoes. I'm a dancing man, and I just can't lose. And nothing's gonna change the way we live. Cause we can always take but never give. And now that things are changing for the worse. See, oh, life's going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Life's going nowhere. Somebody help
Kata's in the
me.
affirmative.
Somebody help me, yeah. Oh, life's going nowhere. Somebody help me. Somebody help me, yeah. Futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground. Oh, futures made of virtual insanity now always seem to be governed by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, for we all live underground, live underground, live underground.
Crazy tight. I love how the drummer played that end and fill with one hand because he had the because he had the tambourine in the other. It was fun. That was great. Man, all right. Well, that does it for the fun portion of the fucking show. Gang, this shit is tragic. I look. I'm afraid we're just gonna have to call a spade, gang. TYT is fucking dropping the bag. They're fumbling the boat. I don't know what to say. Whatever the kids are fucking saying, man, they're fucking up. This shit is not lit. It's not fucking swag. It's not. Let me just stop. I don't know what to say. Look, it started back when Anna Kasparian made that really cringe tweet about not being referred to a birthing person, which who the fuck ever refers to Anna Kasparian from TYT as a goddamn birthing person? Okay, and then there's the little insidious drop of biological woman and shit like that. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean? Because that's not a thing other than a right wing talking point. Yeah, there's been more. Apparently, TYT has just really decided to go all the way in on basically blaming the left for not accepting discrimination against trans athletes in sports as the reason for conservative victories. So it's bad, gang. Let me just be upfront with you. It's a mess. It's not good. Okay, let's just be upfront about that. But look, it is what it is. Like this is where the table's at. These people have some growing to do, some learning to do. But right now, we're at the portion in the journey where they're just being tone deaf, and they're clearly not understanding what the problem is, and it hurts. Was a big TYT fan. Ever since Anna Kasparian's comments, I have had a really hard time watching their content. Because it's such a simple thing to fix, and I don't understand why you wouldn't want to address the issue. And, there's so many great content creators that they've have on TYT. And as a progressive, a person on the left, whatever, I really celebrate the diversity of people that they put on the air and give a platform to. And I haven't seen or heard anything problematic out of those people, but there's definitely a problem, at least with Jank and Anna. And at some point, people have to make choices about, can you really be a part of an organization like this? Can you really participate in what it is they're putting together? And a lot of people just can't. They just can't do it. And I understand that. And people have different situations, right? I think it's different. I imagine it's probably different if you're somebody who like TYT, like that's your full-time gig, versus you're somebody who like you're kind of a freelancer and you're on TYT. I don't really know how all of that is worked out. But what I also definitely know is that the bigger problem for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, is that TYT has a very large platform, one of the largest platforms on the left. And so them throwing trans athletes under the bus so that they can make nice with bigots and fascists, to me is a problem for all of us. Like that, because it's exactly what fucking dumbasses on the other side want. And they know that. They absolutely know that. But again, there's this idea that you're going to make America purple again. that, you know, the best thing you could do on the left is oppose the left. The best thing you could do is make it very clear that you are willing to throw the progressive causes under the bus, because that's how you prove to conservatives that you're a reasonable person. I don't understand. But let's go ahead and jump into this footage, which is from Ben Carolla. And I've always enjoyed Ben's comments on TYT. When I first heard the story, I was like, this fucking sucks. When I saw Ben's video, I was like, okay, this is actually really serious. All right, so let's go ahead and roll the tape.
Alright, so in case it wasn't obvious from the title of this video, I'm done with TYT. Now, before we get into like everything about this isn't about all of the hosts. There are actually a ton of people at TYT that I think are genuinely cool people. This is mostly about Cenk and Anna. But of course, since like they're the people that are like the big names on the network and Cenk kind of like owns the company, it's a pretty big deal when they do something like, I don't know, become incredibly transphobic and start what appears to be a ridiculous right-wing grift. I mean, literally everything from the things that they've said about homeless people to the stuff that they said about abolitionists and their general sort of like refusal to hear the people that are criticizing them and saying, no, this is what people are actually trying to say. You're not really hearing what we're saying, or you're not listening. Now, we're not going to focus on literally all of the right-wing things that they've been doing lately, especially in the past year. They've done this pivot where they go after prison abolitionists, people who say defund the police, homeless people, and anybody that they think is a radical left. Because, you know, doing the enlighten the centrist thing is really a smart move in this year, 2023. Right, I still got that calendar right. No, we're mostly going to be focusing on their transphobia, which they have been escalating rapidly, which I guess is something that everybody really predicted would happen starting, I think about 6 months ago, 4 months ago, when Anna Kasparian put out a tweet complaining about the use of the term birthing person, which is really, really funny because she kept on talking about how, like, it erases women, and it minimizes womanhood down to just body parts. Except for it literally doesn't. Everybody very immediately pointed out that that's a silly thing to say, that, in fact, thinking that the term woman and birthing person are completely interchangeable actually does reduce women to body parts. And what precipitated this is...
I don't know. This... I'm going to go ahead, actually, and say no. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say they're actually trying to be, they're trying to be nice to bigots, and the question is why. I can't. There's this thing I have. It is a particular bias. I know that knowing things in a particular area doesn't mean you know things in every area, but I have this thing where, like, once I legitly buy into somebody being a certain level of intelligence, especially with regard to their work and like what they do, I just can't imagine them being that stupid. And I think this is one of those cases where there seems, at least to me, to be a calculation that this is an issue we should, quote unquote, like, strategically concede. But then again, you're right in the sense of they buy into that, right? Like they believe that bullshit. They really do think that, like, that's a good compromise. So fuck, I don't know. This is all fucked.
It's even more silly because it was originally in reference to AOC and other politicians using the term when they're talking about abortion rights. And I don't know if you know this, but abortion rights are pretty specific to people with uteruses who are capable of having
Good to see
children.
you, Slug.
And so the term birthing person is a pretty useful term to be narrow enough to be specific, but also cover all of the relevant people. And that's why politicians have been using it in that context. Since posting the original tweet, literally it seems like they keep going back and forth whenever they hear that argument. Basically, if there's somebody reasonable in the room with them saying why the term birthing person might be used, then they're like, yeah, I guess it makes sense of that context, but I just don't like it. But when somebody reasonable isn't around, then they just go and complain about the term birthing person again. And that really is why so many people predicted that they were going to go into this extreme turf pipeline, because, of course, that's a very common starting point right there.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel you,
trans
Maya.
people
This is
are
some
racing
pretty
women. Oh
deep
my
shit.
god.
And
But then
that's what,
everything
hang on a
escalated when they
second, hang on, let's
decided to
pause
talk
the
about.
tape. That's what gets me about this. And Ben's gonna go into some more details, but that's kind of the deal, right? Is at this point, they're actually like apologists for this shit, right? Because even the way you see and hear them push back about the feedback they're getting is bullshit. Like they've literally had it calmly and gently laid out for them repetitively over and over and over and over and over, and like everyone's told them. So we're in this doubling, tripling down phase. And I'm gonna just go ahead. This shit is not progressive, and it's not okay. It's a big problem. And again, fuck these people, right? Because at the end of the day, like, imagine us losing sleep over the inadequacy of white moderates who claim to be progressive. Like really, come on, y'all. Like, we all know better than that. The fucking problem is we don't have a lot of substantial platforms in terms of ability to reach a broad audience. And we need the few fucking people who have that kind of reach to know what the fuck is up at all times, because the fucking stakes are too high. And with that kind of direct injection to the fucking main vein of the left mainstream narrative, whatever the fuck that shit means, right? This is just giving permission and endorsement to the fucking overwhelming, insufferable mass of other fucking moderates who also think it's cool to like throw trans people, and particularly trans athletes, under the bus in the fucking name of compromise. And on top of that, thinking like that is like thinking that this shit is okay. And look, I'm just here to tell you, there's a lot of chatter about that shit. And a lot of us not being as educated on this issue as we should before we form an opinion on it, form the wrong opinion, okay? It's I get it. It's like one of those things where, you know, to a low information voter, it seems to make sense, but it doesn't. And the bottom line is this: if you are okay with excluding trans athletes from sports, you're a bigot. You're a bigot. There's no. I'm not saying that just to like stomp on you. I'm saying that because bigotry is bigotry, and being against bigotry means not excluding people from full participation in society. The fucking Democrats are the ones who literally want to rewrite the fucking Constitution. They want to get up in front of a fucking camera and say, you know, in that Constitution that says every man and woman is created equal. Every time I hear this, I'm like, that is not what that shit says. That is not in any way, shape, or form what that shit says. The reality is it said all men are created equal. And the truth is that it meant all white men, because black people didn't have, and people of color didn't have their fucking freedom. And women were second-class citizens who couldn't do shit, including even fucking vote. So now if the Democrats want to talk about the fucking stance is all men and women are created equal, I'm also going to say go fuck yourselves, because we don't need that shit from people like Joe Biden. I'm only using that expression because he used it on MSNBC the other day. Obviously, it needs to be all people are created equal. And gang, go fuck yourself. If all people are created equal, then everybody gets to play sports. This is really not that complicated. Everyone is equal means everybody plays sports. Gang, look, I'm not even gonna bullshit you. I am going to reveal the fucking big fucking hoo-ha of this whole thing right the fuck now. And I hope my elite athlete friends like Stephanie Helms and Uncle Bobby can forgive me for what I'm about to reveal about the wide world of sports to the greater public, who often doesn't care about fucking who scores what and won what championship in which league and who has the record for the fastest times or whatever. Please forgiving me for saying this out loud, gang, but the thing they don't want you to know about this issue, how do I say this nicely? Sports are games. Oh, holy shit. I know your mind just fucking exploded. Your brain is literally all over the wall. Your neighbors are calling the fucking ambulance and the fire department because you have just spontaneously combust with the knowledge that I have just dropped on you that sports are fucking games. They are fucking games. I don't give a shit. Yes, everybody plays sports just means everybody plays sports because they're fucking games. Period. End of story. This is so stupid.
About trans people in sports, which is a very common thing that a lot of cisgender people like to complain about because they don't understand how hormones work. And instead of attempting to try and get any type of understanding, they just want to sit and argue about their assumptions about how they think hormones should work. They come in with all of these assumptions about biological males and think that there's some sort of magic secret advantage that just exists persistently regardless as to what hormones are literally dictating what your body is doing at the time. And that's where I came in, and I started tweeting at some of the hosts.
All right, here's where shit
saying
gets
that,
sad.
hey, you're wrong about this, that, or the other thing. You're missing these details. Hey, you're literally just being transphobic right now. I even reached out to people within the network to say like, hey, I would like to maybe sit down with Cenk and maybe even have an on-the-air conversation where I could talk about how all of this stuff actually works.
And gang, like this is where the fucking intersection of privilege and fucking platform and all of that shit just becomes sad as shit. There are so many fuckfaces out there who are like vile, weaponized human beings who say and do things that literally make me want to throw them off the top of a very, very tall building. And the truth is, even though they're a threat to themselves and humanity, a lot of them really don't know better, right? Like they literally don't know better. They're the products of like generations upon generations of no or severely undereducation, underexposure to people of different viewpoints, severe indoctrination from the time they are soft in the head to make them believe the most vile shit. Like they're fucked up human beings, and they are absolutely responsible to change because at this point they're grown. So like, who the fuck else is supposed to fix them? But like, honestly, they never had a fucking chance. Like, we're being real. They never had a fucking chance in the goddamn world, right? But with these fuckfaces, it's like, no, you have a platform, you have reach of fucking millions of people, you have fucking experts on this issue hitting you up. You have doctors and scientists trying to fucking correct you on this shit. You have other fucking content creators. You have just people with their fucking lived experience who are like genuinely like your fans, and they fucking love you, and they just like want you to like understand where like you've said incorrect things that are like potentially damaging. And literally you have like content, or you have like you know that bullshit you have in the fucking OSHA document. You know how like every once in a while you're fucking bored in the fucking coffee room wherever you work, right? And you got your fucking coffee on the machine and you got your shit already and you're fucking bored as fuck, and you literally find yourself staring at that dumbass OSHA document, right? We've all seen this fucking OSHA document. And what the fuck does that OSHA document say? It says the blase and the flavonoids about the federal government, and you can't discriminate against anybody because according to race and nationality and sexuality and identity and on and on and on, right? And it just tells you about the protected classes. It just tells you about them like right there. We've all seen this fucking document while you wait for a cup of coffee. Don't fucking act like I'm the only person who's read this shit for no goddamn reason at all. And literally, what the fuck do you think that's for? It's literally the government being like, shut the fuck up. You don't understand shit. When other people who are different than you work with you, you need to like make sure your shit isn't creating a hostile work environment for them. And literally you have these people in your fucking organization who are fucking educated as fuck, and they're like, yeah, let me just help you understand this a little bit better. Sorry, you were a little bit misinformed about this. Like, you put this shit as gently to them as possible, and they just fucking ignore you and act like they know better with absolutely no backup. Oh, gang. And so it's very hard to have sympathy for these people. It's part of the reason I hate people like Rebecca Davis, right? Because we all know a lot of churchy fucking young earth creationists who, again, they just never had a fucking chance. They just never had a fucking clue, right? And so they just believe a lot of wild shit. But you have sat there and watched fuckface Rebecca Davis sit down with fucking the Professor Daves and the fucking Gustick Gibbons and the student doctor, whoever the fuck it's been, right? And they've sat there for like 90 minutes and like broke this shit down for her, giving her like one-on-one tutoring, taking her through all the fucking evidence for all the fucking shit. And it has gone, what, gang? Through that magic funnel, in one ear and out the other, primarily, apparently bypassing all the alleged brain matter in between. And okay, yeah, that's like fuckface soccer mom Rebecca Davis. Like, who cares? Slap that bitch over the head with the steel chair and let's get on with it. But to see the same type of ignorance from the owner and one of the principal fucking hosts of the Young Turks, one of the largest progressive news, like, for them to be pulling a fuckface bread of life on us, are you fucking serious? Go fuck yourselves. This is just not okay.
You know, I may not be a doctor, but I like to think that in my master's degree in biotechnology and my experience literally being a trans person who, by the way, most trans people will do a ton of research about hormones before they get on them because a lot of doctors don't really know that much about it. So that's actually something that I did, where I spent a ton of time like reading through like research papers about what would be like the best for my transition, how it would go, and things like that. So I'd like to think
it's like when your dumbass aunt or grandma or person in your life tries to talk to you about drugs, and you're like, you know, one of us actually does these things and probably figured out what was up before subjecting my body to this substance. But yeah, dude, go ahead, tell me what you think. Like, it's so ridiculous how people don't recognize the information gap likely produced by simply their lived experience. Like the one that even this gang, part of why we're having this conversation, right? Because why? You saw people criticizing the Young Turks and Anna and Jank, okay, blah, 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 blah. And then what happened? When Ben is like, okay, let me break it down to you. Not only is there shit all types of fucked up, but let me tell you how we tried to, you go fuck yourselves. What does a normal person do? You're like, look, this person has the lived experience of dealing with this issue, and on top of that, dealing with the people in this organization, and on top of that, trying to reconcile and trying to break it down. Who the fuck am I to think I know better? All of a sudden, all I'm like is, all right, we're gonna play that, we're gonna broadcast that, we're gonna big up that, we're gonna show our support, add our voice, little added value, YouTube style, and keep it rolling. But these people think they know better than the people who this is their fucking lives. This is their fucking lives. Please go fuck yourselves. When was the last time you saw TYT bring on a trans athlete to address that shit? Nope, not never. Why? Because that experience will shut that shit down every single time. You will just look stupid on your own goddamn platform because that's the type of cowardice involved in this, gang. That is the type of cowardice involved in this. It is just like fucking Christians. Traditional marriage. Marriage is between a man and a woman. It was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. God created the world in 6 days, and I am created as an image. And if you don't believe in him, you're going to go to hell. So, okay, so yeah. I think you're a fucking bigot and a fucking homophobe and trying to be some part of superior master race. I think you're a pretty fucked up person. Actually, see, it's not me who sends you. It's just God's righteous judgment that you choose. And I'm not a bigot. I just don't like the sin, but I love the sinner. I don't think you deserve to burn in hell. And no, it's not burning in hell. It's just absence from God. What happened to all that chest beating you was doing? Again, you fucking cowards. You can do it when it's a room full of you, all that bullshit. Yeah, then you're fucking into it. But when somebody calls your bluff, y'all can't handle the fucking heat. And that is exactly what this shit is. Tell all these fucking transphobes, especially the ones on the fucking lefts, to bring that shit to the local fucking middle school. Go fuck yourself. Please go to the local fucking elementary school and start telling these fucking kids they can't play ball games. Please. Oh, would that shit be a little difficult? Would it be a little uncomfortable? Would that be a little bit hard for you? Yeah, because it's fucked up and you shouldn't be saying it. These people literally want to exclude children from fucking sport. Are you kidding me? Just horrible.
Background with some experience in biology and, reading a ton about how specifically hormone replacement therapy works for trans women like myself, I might know a thing or two about all of these things. And I figured, hey, if Jank doesn't know about this, maybe it'd be interesting for him to learn. But with that, though, he wasn't really interested in having an on-the-air conversation because he seemed pretty intent on not changing his mind, but he was open to having a phone conversation. So I handed to him on that, yeah, great. So we had a chat over the phone. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into the details of literally every single thing that we talked about. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis, because that's really all that's important. And there are 2 main sticking points that I really want to touch on that happened within that phone call that I think were really a sign of how far things were going to go, and honestly how much further things might go from here still. The first sticking point was Jank seemed convinced of this idea that I'm living in some sort of bubble. They've even said it on the air, that people fighting for trans rights are all living in some sort of bubble. The problem with that is
Lena, we haven't mentioned Professor Dave, but we got a fucking, that shit's problematic too.
Perspectives that will reach out to me about hey, how are things going at TYT? Or hey, you're really inspiring. Stuff like that. And I also have a decent circle of friends and family, many of which who are sort of all over the place politically. I told Jank very specifically, I have friends that are big Joe Biden fans, right? They are theoretically to your political right. His reaction to that was quite literally laughter, which I just thought was so hilarious. And he just kind of wouldn't believe. He was like, no, you're in a bubble. You're in a bubble. And I kept pressing. I was like, no, Jank, you don't understand. I matched with a random person on Tinder, and the first thing that they started talking to me about is how transphobic TYT has been lately. Because I think that they had just kind of figured out who I was. And Jank was like, no, see, you're living in a bubble. And it's yeah, okay, buddy. That completely random person I matched with on Tinder is just part of the bubble that I'm magically living in. But really, that kind of gave me the vibe of oh, Jank really thinks that every trans person is part of some sort of ideology, that we're of a strict political viewpoint, and that we don't just exist as a type of person that exists, It really did seem like Jank was of the mind that to be transgender is to subscribe to a very specific political viewpoint, which I don't know if you know this, but that's actually something that the like most unhinged transphobes are like spewing as conspiracy theories and stuff like that. They're like, these trans rights activists are all part of this strict ideological group, and they're
exactly. And like what, and it's super fucked up because like what, and I noticed this in the Black Lives Matter movement is this takes the value away from experts, right? I am a black man. Great, cool, nice. I've even fucking done some sociology work on race and taught the sociology of race at Penn State. Cool, great. But I'm a fucking evolutionary biologist, and as a YouTuber, I just like talk about shit that I fucking care about. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert in African American studies, black liberation movements, the fucking legal fucking political history of Jim Crow. None of that shit. Right? But just as somebody who comes out and is like, Black Lives Matter, they're like, well, the fucking woke racial agenda and the fucking, right? And what that does is it makes every person who's like, don't kill black people into like a fucking civil rights activist, which totally dilutes the fucking work and unique expertise of ... civil rights activists, gang. Like people who do that shit for a living instead of try to convince kids to like fucking evolve shit on computers, which is pretty much my jam. Like it's crazy. And the same thing happens for LGBT. Like I'm like, do I count as like a fucking, according to the right, I'd be a fucking woke fucking trans activist, right? Whereas in reality, like I'm just somebody who like Maya just like tries to see what's up when shit's going down, try to see like where my trans friends are coming from and then do my best to relate to them. And most of the time they're trying to actually turn to the actual activists to make sure that, you know, because they recognize that they only have a limited perspective because, again, it's their lived experience, not necessarily their expertise. But this is one of the things we just absolutely have to pay attention to. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm happy to be a woke mob boss and fucking cancel everyone and make sure that bigots have absolutely no friends. Like, please go fuck yourself. That sounds like a wonderful time. But we have to make sure that our that we go to our experts when it's time to go to our experts. And also, it's really fucking frustrating because it overlooks the fact that we do. Right? So like even in this conversation between Jank and Ben here, who do you think has done more research on these issues, right? Who do you think is actually speaking with, speaking, in line with what the experts would have to say? And the fact that, again, they know this. They fucking know this. They know that like Ben's not gonna hit them up with some bullshit, but they just want to ignore it. It's really sad. And this is one of them shits where you're suspicious because normally you're like, yeah, I understand people want to have phone conversations because they don't want to handle shit in public. Yeah, that's fair. But then when you hear this shit, you're like, oh yeah, this is exactly why they don't want to handle this shit in public because they don't want to have to say the quiet part out loud.
People with this radical gender ideology is literally what like these unhinged right-wingers are saying. But it does kind of seem like Jank is just kind of in that camp of like, oh, if you're trans, you must by definition be like some sort of radical leftist. You know, clearly like not connecting the dots about people like Caitlyn Jenner or Blair White existing. Which honestly was just really, really frustrating to have in that conversation. Because the people that are in my circle of friends are people.
Quoons, gang. That's what I'm calling them. And we were trying to find a word for these LGBTQIA plus traitors, I'm just calling them coons. It's a combination of queer and coon. They're the queer coons. They're from now with some coons. Somebody got something better, hit me with it.
People who like literally have been homeless in their lives and people who literally are making like ridiculous amounts of money.
AKA
I have a
Caitlyn
pretty
Jenner.
broad circle, you know. Something that kind of happens sometimes when you're like a polyamorous trans woman that's like a little bit popular on the internet. It turns out that you can build a pretty wide circle of people from like different perspectives and backgrounds.
Exactly, Crystal, you called it out. See, this is the little shit that that they do out loud, like they don't think we're supposed to fucking notice, right? Like you make a problematic video and then you turn off the comments. And again, they'll come with the bullshit about, oh, well, it's because, you know, the whatever, the right-wingers were off the chain or whatever. But, bro, the right-wingers being off the chain triggered by some shit you say in your atheist science content channel, yeah, that pretty much happens every day. It seems like the difference in the video like this would be the pushback from the left. And that's why it's a little suspicious, a little sus, as they would say, about the comments being off on that
stuff. I know, what a shocker. But then there's the other part that was like even more disturbing, which was I pointed out something that Anna had said on the air, where I was like, hey, Anna said this bit about doctors giving hormone therapy to children because they were afraid of being called transphobic. And I was very clear. I was like, you know that's not happening, right? Like, you know that that isn't happening. And Cenk's response was, you know, I don't know. See, I could see it happening, though. And I'm like, no, but you couldn't, because you know if that actually did happen, that would be medical malpractice, and it would be like a federal case to just give kids hormone replacement therapy because you didn't want to seem transphobic. That's ridiculous. On its face is ridiculous. Anybody who knows anything about politics would know that not only would that be a federal case, but it would be like national headlines. Every single newspaper would turn that into the biggest story for months. I mean, literally the biggest story transphobes have had for the past 2 months is Dylan Mulvaney being on a can of Budweiser. So do you think that they really wouldn't make it national headlines even if it just happened once? But no, Cenk still doubled down and was like, I don't know, I could see that happening. And it's like,
gang, can you imagine a worse thing to say to defend some shit like this? I could see that happening. That right there is a confession that somebody knows that they have absolutely zero evidence at all that whatever the fuck they're talking about is even a thing. Because I could see that happening is literally orders of magnitude below. I think I read about that once on the internet. Right, gang? Like how many things can you think of that you're really like not sure they happen or not sure, but you kind of remember reading about it on the internet at some point, right? Like I think just the other day I saw a little thing about a wrestler dying, and then I saw another thing today about wrestler not really dead. I don't even know if they're talking about the same wrestler, right? But that's literally a thing where I could be in conversation with somebody, be like, yo, I heard a famous wrestler died yesterday, and then be like, oh, but maybe they're not dead, because it's a thing I saw on the internet, right? You can't even say that. It's not a thing you read in the paper one time, so a story you heard on a Reddit thread, none of that shit. And again, such a fantastic point. Do you know that these right-wing fuckfaces need but one instance to make something a fucking national news headline and fucking get the fucking pitchforks out and rev up the QAnon base and all of that fucking shit? It's just ridiculous.
great. We have somebody who is like the head of a news network who is like basing political opinions off of things that he could see happening.
Things that seem plausible.
What a wonderful position to be in at this point. Like the real brilliant 5-head political take right there. You know, I could imagine this scenario, and that really says something about society, doesn't it? And that had to be one of the most unhinged parts of that phone call. But whatever. I sent him some research papers about trans people in sports that went into detail pretty clearly about like, hey, there's no evidence that there's any reason to discriminate against trans people in sports. And that was like the conclusion that it came to pretty firmly, right? Hey, there's no evidence that we should discriminate against trans people.
Can we just you know that would, you know, Ben does make some additional really good points and show some good footage, so we'll keep going. But god damn it, that's a pretty much a good place to just stop this whole conversation right there. There is no evidence that we should discriminate against trans people. And gang, even if there was, we shouldn't discriminate against trans people. I would not care about the fucking study came back and it says that the trans girls have an advantage. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Gang, I'm gonna say it again. Sports are fucking games. They're games. Also, gang, let me be honest. As a sports fan, I'm trying to make some money. All right, so let's be real. Transphobes, fuck off. Y'all don't care about trans people, but you know what else you don't care about? Women's fucking sports at all, ever, never, don't even, stop. You don't care. You know what though? A lot of people who would do, man, we would love to see some trans athletes, especially trans women, but trans men too, because fuck it, I don't care. Please, let's get some more trans athletes up in the game. I want to see trans athletes fucking dominating. I want to see a trans man crossing somebody up in NBA, dunking, just fucking slamming on their head with some fucking trans fucking flag fucking sneakers on and shit. You know how into that shit people be? Gang, let me stop with this fucking Republican bullshit. Trans is money right now. That's what diversity is great. We want to see people make it. That's why, what do you think? Don't you think this was the same exact shit they said back in the day with black people? Oh, the black people, oh my God, a white man's never gonna play professional sports again. Oh my God, don't let the black people in. Gang, these leagues and these athletes have never been worth more money. Please go fuck yourself. Did y'all see the response to the fucking John Morant shit? This man who got himself in a fist fight and was playing with guns on Instagram. Gang, we have fucking Congress people who make Christmas cards with their children holding an assault rifle. That literally means we hold NBA players to a higher social standard than we do the US Congress. And people who justify it say it's easy because their platform is bigger. And how do you think they got that big of a platform? On the back of black athletes, motherfucker. Not only, black people did not ruin sports, they made sports a fucking gold mine. And please go fuck yourselves. I am all about a trans athlete in all them sports breaking through and having more people. What are you fucking stupid? You will have more ticket sales. You will have more merchandise sales. Everybody will be celebrating shit. Do not listen to the conservatives. They don't care anyway. Sports fans, we are all about the inclusivity. Let's go. Let's get it. Trans for the goal, baby.
What a wild concept. It's amazing. I know. But Cenk apparently has learned the wrong lesson from that, especially when you look at some of the clips from his most recent rant about trans people that he just did the other day regarding trans people in sports and the extreme radical activists that support trans people in sports. Now, let's listen really quick to some of the clips from this rant to see where exactly Cenk is on these issues.
No, the hormone blockers do lower the testosterone. They do even things out a lot, right? But the men still have other physical advantages. Like we maintain mass much better. Mm-hmm. And to give you a sense of how unfair this is, that where she won in Canada with 275-pound bench press. I bench press 275. Okay, And that's not a big deal for a guy.
This is so ridiculous.
All right, hang on a sec. Gang, listen. Clearly, these people are just off their rocker because Jank got me all over here feeling all types inadequate. Well, please go fuck yourself. I cannot bench press anywhere near 275 pounds. Okay, if somebody puts 275 pounds on a bar and I lift it off the thing, you are gonna see one of them commercial shits where the bar fucking slams down onto the person's chest and then they're struggling and they can't and they fall over. Okay, but it wouldn't be funny because I'd be dead because I don't even think that if it crushed my chest and I don't even think I could be able to roll that 275 pounds forward and get off me. Please go fuck yourself. I body slam people like professional wrestling. I lift and scoop, you jump and dip, okay? That's how we do this. I lift and scoop, you jump and dip, all right? The fuck out of here. No. So if you're out there and you're like me and you can't lift that much, it's cool. It's fine. We're fine. And again, yeah, like there are all types of women who are all types of strong like that. And I've dated some. I don't know what is with these insecure men. I just gotta say, I'm not going to get too into my things, y'all, because I have a broad range. I like them all types of different. But let me tell you something. There is something so sexy about a woman that can actually toss me around for real. Y'all don't understand. You just. I'm gonna just say you're missing out.
Literally so ridiculous. Okay, think about this. He's like, oh, this trans woman won a competition where she broke a record bench pressing 275 pounds. And clearly, that's unfair. Because I, a cisgender man, can easily bench press 275 pounds. Therefore, there must be an advantage. And it's like, my guy, she literally broke a record. Like, what are you talking about? She clearly wasn't having, like, an incredibly easy time. You're stumbling like so close to the point. Like, Cenk is literally incapable in this moment of separating trans women from cisgender men in his own brain right here. Like, he is fundamentally refusing to connect the dots that hormones maybe actually have an impact on, I know this is wild, your ability to maintain mass. That maybe perhaps, like, your biological traits are not dictated by some ethereal assignment of gender that you were given at birth, and maybe perhaps are actually dictated by the hormones that are, like, flowing through your body, telling your body what to do. Like, could he have used a sillier example? He's trying to say that trans women have an advantage in sports because he personally, as a cisgender man that has never taken estrogen, would be able to beat them all at a bench press competition. This is just on its face ridiculous. But just wait, because it's gonna get worse.
It's just stupid and
it's okay,
wrong.
But it's not that big a deal. You're gonna put that in the women's division. I don't care how many hormone blockers you had. It's gonna make a difference, okay? And in the limited cases, they're not like instantly breaking every record like Trump is saying, right? But they're doing better than the average bear.
That's not true. Like, literally show me any statistic that shows that trans women are performing better than average in sports. In fact, that's part of the research that I showed Cenk that it actually isn't happening. It literally is not happening. There is yet to be a trans woman win at the Olympics, despite the fact that trans women have been allowed at the Olympics for a long time now. Once again, it is almost like Cenk is refusing to take in the information that people are presenting to him and is just making up things in his head and taking that as reality.
And here, I'll add one thing that's really important. And we shot a show, I don't know if you guys are ever gonna see it, we shot a pilot just this weekend with a mixed Republican and Democratic family, okay? I asked them about trans rights, should they have the same rights, same exact rights in housing, employment, etc. Every one of
And again, like he's another one. This is, gang, I'm telling you, this is a thing we have to pay a lot more attention to. And again, like I first off, we need to do it because it's just the right thing to do. Second of all, we need to do it because they need to go fuck themselves. We actually they're the problem. The problem is not we need to correct and fix the left by compromising with the right. The problem is we need to fix the left by the left no longer sabotaging what it means to be progressive. We need to fix the left by actually advocating for equality for everyone, period, end of story, and stop literally hunting in the middle of the night for fucking excuses to allow maybe some bigotry, you know, maybe just a smidgen here, okay? And the other people, like, I don't care what you like. We can't sleep on this just because it's sports. And I know a lot of people in my audience, at least, are not sports fans, and I'm a huge sports fan, but you have to remember there are people in your life whose sports is incredibly important to them. And so regardless of how you feel about sports, they need to be able to participate in sports. Also, if you think that we can exclude trans people from sports based on, you know, whatever bullshit rationale we're going to come up with, why wouldn't we be able to do the same thing in other areas of life where we would just argue that there's so let's just this isn't about how much of a sports fan you are. It's about people can't participate fully in society unless sports is included in the thing that they have every right to do like everyone else. So this issue is huge. The other thing is we just have to understand how important sports are in our culture. Like, they're a huge deal. And even people who don't like sports would be severely hurt by being told they were not allowed to participate in them, right? Isn't that it's pretty obvious, right? Like it's the public humiliation, it's the recognition that there's discrimination against you going on, and people are actually going to go along with it. One of the you guys know I mentioned being the only black kid in all white school, but I rarely talk about some of the actual unique challenges it was. Mostly because I haven't figured out the right way to do all that in a way that's meaningful. But one of the experiences I remember growing up was there's a particular parent who didn't want me in the hallway at the same time as her daughter. And looking back, like, my school went along with it, right? Like, rather than being like, that's racist and we can't not, you know, we're not going to change the way our school works just so that your daughter isn't in the hallway at the same time as a black guy. They actually did it. They actually made sure to stagger when classes were changed so that her and I were not in the hallway. And gang, go fuck yourselves. I grew up in the 90s. It was different. Yeah, it was crazy. I actually did it, and the teachers also would try to, like, if I like went to the bathroom or whatever, like they try. It didn't work. Like it didn't work because she was really into me and we were dating, so like it just wasn't gonna happen. But they tried, and I can look back at that and remember how crazy it felt. That. So wait, hang on. Because they have to tell me at the beginning. You're telling me, so we have to make sure you and so, you guys can't be in the hallway at the same time, so we're gonna have to. Like, everybody just knew. There was just I went to very small classes. Everybody just knew that was a rule. That was a new thing that we were gonna go with, right? So it's a similar thing. Like you don't need to want to be on the basketball team to be devastated to be told that you can't be, even if you did.
Of them, including hardcore Trump people, were like, yes, they should have the same exact rights.
Yeah, exactly.
When I asked about this topic, every one of them, except one, 6 out of 7, were like, no, not competing in sports.
Okay, do you know what we call people like that? Liars. Yeah, see the part where they said, should they have equal rights in every way? That includes playing sports. So when y'all were all nodding in agreement, like, oh yeah, we definitely support equal rights for gender because none of us are bigots. We're all good people. And then you turned your monkey asses right around and said, but they shouldn't be able to play fucking hoops, right? Yeah, you just revealed that you are fucking liars.
Doesn't make sense. Men and women are different, okay? And so whether that's, we can get into the, continue that scientific debate.
Congratulations, men and women are different. What the fuck does this have to do with transport? Again, they just can't get their brains around it. They can't get their brains around it. Yeah. See, here's the deal. Everybody plays sports, right? And which group do they play sports with? The group they identify with. What does that mean about a trans girl? Yeah, it means a trans girl plays with the girls. That's it. Trans girls and cis girls are girls. Trans boys and cis boys are boys. Everybody else, literally everybody else, guess what? They get to play sports too. And which one do they get to play? Whatever the fuck they tell us they want to do. It's called Title IX. We already have fucking laws in place for this shit. This shit is so basic, it is so simple, and it is so fucking easy. And why are we even talking about this? Everybody plays sports, period, end of story.
But as far as the American people go and politics go, you're gonna lose them. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You're gonna lose them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We should adjust all of our political opinions based off of what's popular and what's unpopular, right? Because here's the thing, Jank. You personally, as somebody that works in the news, have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to actually inform people with the facts and not worry about like,
what's up, AR?
How are they gonna worry about like what I'm saying? No, you just have to like give people the facts. And that as somebody who's working in media, you do actually have an influence over people's opinions. But it's playing this game of, oh, I want to sound and seem really smart, regardless as to whether that not something is actually true. And so I'm going to say something that's not true, just because it's a big smart brain thing to say. I think discriminating against trans people is okay as a smart galaxy brain strategic move, because we got to win over all of these people who just don't understand yet. Like, can we stop doing this? Can we stop playing this game of like, I really want to look smart, so I'm afraid of saying something that is literally true? Or like standing up for what is just morally correct? I mean, quite literally, if you don't have enough evidence, why do you think the default should be discrimination? Explain this. Why is the default
so
discrimination?
Crazy.
And heaven forbid.
And I want to thank Stephanie. Stephanie Helms articulates this so well, because I was literally I was asking for help, trying to understand this better. But that's the deal, is so many people start this conversation by looking for there to be an unfair advantage where there's absolutely no evidence that there is one. Rather than starting from a place of, again, everybody plays sports, because that's what equality means, and I don't understand. And again, like, I try to say the same thing to people. Look, I'm fortunate. I'm very, very glad that the evidence is on the side of equality. If you want to be anti-racist, congratulations. The evidence is on our side. Like, there's larger variation, within a race than there is between races, and so you should be anti-racist because there's no foundation to believe it. But what if there was a statistically significant difference that demonstrated that white people are just absolutely smarter than black people? Would it then be okay to not send black children to school because they can't make as much of an education anyway? Is that even what data like that would say or mean? Of course not. Of course not. It would still be immoral. First of all, it would still be talking about the average. It would not be saying every white person is smarter than every black person. And on top of that, it would still not change the moral imperative of non-discrimination, of equitable opportunity. And it would probably indicate that there was something super fucked up about the research and the data, because how would you even, again, so there's so many issues. And this is why this is the same reason this is a non-starter with trans in sports because you don't have evidence that there's an advantage. And even if you did, it would not justify discriminating against people, especially not fucking student athletes. Holy shit.
We stand up for people and say, no, trans people should just be allowed to play in sports. That's good, actually. That's fine. There's no evidence to suggest that we should discriminate against trans people because of some sort of biological advantage, because of course, that's like a silly, nonsensical idea. And also, wild concept, women with PCOS have a ton of advantages in sports. Are we going to discriminate against them too? Right? Once again, this is a failure to understand that trans people are just a type of person, right? This is thinking that transness is something extra, which is another vibe that I got with Jank over the phone, was just this feeling that it seemed like he thought that transitioning and being trans was like this extra special thing that people did for fun or to make a political statement, and not just literally part of like who trans people are. Once again, this is just a failure to understand transness as just a type of person that exists. And the idea of, oh, you're just losing the average person, you're losing, I can win over Republicans on like the housing and all these other things,
right,
is just absurd on its face. Because really, Jank, are people just gonna vote for a Republican because they're very angry that there's a trans person playing sports ball? Come on, like be real. Be real, especially because, and this is another thing that I pointed out to Jank, if you look at the states where Republicans made their entire campaign just attacking trans people in sports, you know what happened when Democrats actually stood in defense of trans people? Oh yeah, that's right. The Republicans lost miserably. Nobody is thinking about this. People are not just struggling to fall asleep at night. Oh my God. Oh, I can't even believe trans people are playing sports. What am I gonna do? Nobody's doing that. There's a tiny group of people who are obsessed with trans people that are like going on a tirade, but that's not the majority.
Exactly. And gang, the fucking sports fan brain in me is actually churning right now. And do you not understand that this is how sports make money? Like I hate to say, but this is what all that fucking good shit was about. All that good pride branding and endorse this trans person and this queer couple over here, and let's get more trans representation in the fucking movies. Gang, please do not think that the average American had to change their heart so much as businesses realized, oh shit, this trans representation shit, this queer representation, this is a way to make fucking money. People are hungry for more diversity and representation. They're realizing there's an entire segment of the population that has not been given their chance to shine. And not only is it good business to give those people their chance to shine, but other people want to see them shine. Other people are into that shit. We're fucking happy for them. We're happy to be witnessing and living through a time when the world is progressing, where doors are being opened, where glass ceilings are being shattered. So gang, please go fuck yourself. I promise you, if you see a breakthrough trans athlete in a major sport, I guarantee you that person will be one of the highest annual jersey sales, marketing, all that shit. Because people want this. Do not fall for this fucking bullshit narrative. People want to see everybody included. We want to celebrate the accomplishments of people who have been historically left out of the conversation. So they're just wrong. They're just wrong. And we should not concede on this at all. We should push as firmly as fucking possible in the other goddamn direction.
If you look at Michigan, in Michigan, the Republicans made their entire campaign just like, we hate trans people. And what happened now? Oh, the Democrats have a trifecta in Michigan now. And every state where Republicans have tried to focus on just attacking trans people, it has literally undermined their own support. So what is happening right here seems to be very clearly Jank hiding behind hypothetical people's opinions in order to mask his own opinion. He doesn't think that trans people should be allowed to play professional sports. And instead of just saying that, which I guess on some level he does, he hides behind, oh, the American people aren't ready for trans people to play sports, you know? But it gets even worse because he basically follows this up by blaming trans athletes and anybody who dares.
Exactly. The TYT ship hit an iceberg and they circled back around and hit the same iceberg. Oh, man. Yes. And also, yes, those terrible studies. They have tried to do these really awful fucking studies. Fortunately, we have much better science than we do now. But yeah, all that's dog shit. Because again, why would you even do it? To me, like you have a fucked up ass bigoted motivation when you even start to think. I know a good research question, bro. It's not a good research question.
To just support trans people existing for all of the transphobic legislation that is passing across the country and for Republicans winning.
That is incredibly selfish of activists who are betraying their own community. Because when you say I don't care about elections, who cares about the Democrats? That isn't the point. The Republicans introduced over 600 bills against the LGBTQ community. That's because of elections. And over 70 of them have already passed. When you say I don't care about winning and I don't care about elections, what you're saying is I'm super selfish leftist activist and I'd like to build my cloud. But meanwhile, I'm willing to throw trans people and the entire LGBTQ community under the bus, knowing that these bills are gonna pass because we're laser focused on a losing issue.
And he's like, oh, if Republicans win because the trans people want to play sports, it'll be all your fault.
Exactly.
And like, how disgusting is that?
That was the worst part.
You were genuinely gonna blame people whose existence is like actively being criminalized by Republicans for their own oppression? Give me a break. This is actually your fault more than it is any trans person's fault. Cenk, personally you, it is more his fault. Because what Cenk is doing is Cenk is going to an audience of people who are presumably on the left and telling them, no, it's okay to be transphobic. Right. It's okay to compromise with the rights of trans people. It's okay to say that we should just discriminate against trans people in some ways if it makes these Republicans happy. And like, that is unbelievably disgusting. It's such a shameless thing to do. Like, how on God's green earth do you think that you get to call yourself some sort of like principled leftist who's out to do the right thing? How can you call yourself the home of progressives when you are actively cutting deals with fascists about the rights of trans people?
And again, they're doing it at a time where there is knowledge that these fucking milquetoast progressives out there are trying to make these compromises left and right so that they can be more palatable to the conservatives. This is straight out of the alt-right playbook. Negotiate with the bigots, negotiate with the people who think, bigotry is just a little bit good for business. And they're doing it because it seems like they've made a calculated decision that this is where they need to be, that they need to represent this sort of ideological neutral version of what it means to be progressive. And it's really fucking stupid. And it's tremendous cowardice to use trans athletes as the bargaining chip.
And then spreading transphobic nonsense to an audience of like millions of people. It is deeply irresponsible and fundamentally it's pathetic. This is genuinely embarrassing. The degree to which this is irresponsible just knows no bounds. Because there are so many people that are literally looking to people like Cenk for opinions, and he's literally just giving them an open invitation to be as transphobic as they want to be because it's politically strategic.
And still call themselves
They'll say that,
progressive.
but okay, you don't care about the politics? Let's just, for once in your life, think strategically about what that means. That means that you're gonna continue pushing the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything that the trans activists want, even if it's unpopular among the electorate. That means they're not getting reelected.
Yeah, yes, that's what fucking equity means. And please go fuck yourself. They are going to get reelected. This is literally. It's so hard. Like, I was such a big fan of these people, but this is so incredibly disappointing. This is the reason probably we didn't get Hillary. This is the reason we didn't get Bernie. Is because we have people on the left who just won't accept the progressive message. They refuse to buy in, despite the fact that the numbers tell them exactly how, on one accord, most of the population is on this. And so they shoot themselves in the foot, and now we get these fucking fence sitters. This is literally fence sitting fucking bullshit. This issue is so fucking simple.
These are going to lose to Republicans. Republican lawmakers who are passing draconian, disgusting legislation in various states right now as we speak against the transgender community.
Because we want trans people to play sports.
You're gonna push the Democratic Party to unequivocally support everything the trans activists want. Like, shut up. Literally, shut the fuck up. This is so embarrassing. Like, Anna Kasparian, and like, look, I'm gonna be real. This is my personal opinion, but whatever. I think Anna Kasparian is genuinely personally transphobic. I'm just gonna say it right now. She's like saying and doing all of the things. She's referring to every trans person as a trans rights activist. Referencing every trans person as a trans rights activist is just, on its face, literally transphobic. And it's one of the things that transphobes have been pushing for a long time, is just calling every trans person a trans rights activist. I mean, and the media more broadly does this as well. And this whole idea of like, you're gonna lose to Republicans, you're gonna lose to Republicans if you cater to these trans people, once again, is entirely debunked. Most people are fine with trans people, and when Republicans make their entire platform about attacking trans people, it actually does undermine their political success. We just live in a country that is very much not a democracy, that has all this gerrymandering and all these other things, and so Republicans still have like seats in a lot of places. I know, wild concept. But genuinely, if you look at their poll numbers in response to them focusing on just trans people existing, it's not working. It is genuinely not working for them. It is undermining the electoral success. But of course, you can't not take the opportunity to blame trans people for their own oppression, am I right? It's really great that Anna Kasparian is doing this.
And by the way, you schmucks, you're falling exactly into the right-wing trap. The Republicans, they tried everything. They tried anti-gay stuff, it didn't work. They tried trans bathrooms, you remember that? That didn't work. Kicking the transgender community out of the military, that didn't work. They drilled in.
And kicking them out of sports is not going to work either.
Drilled in until they finally found a little tiny nugget of like, hey, trans folks in like competitive sports seems a little bit much. And you don't engage them in that fight. They lose on everything else. But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot.
Idiot activists
go in there and go, no, I'm gonna fall right into that trap, and I'm gonna fight on the only losing ground we have, so we can elect more Republicans, so they can pass more anti-LGBT laws. Great, well played. I'm sure your clout and your brand is doing great.
Again, people who will not exclude trans people from sports are to blame for right-wing GOP victories, and therefore responsible for more anti-trans legislation. Just let that marinate. The people who are demanding equality for trans people are responsible for the increase in anti-trans legislation. If that doesn't make any sense to you, gang, congratulations, the shit does not make any sense.
These clips are just so infuriating, genuinely. Like, that talk about betrayal is just so like pathetic and embarrassing and shameless. Coming from Jenk and Anna right here. Like, oh, you're betraying the trans community by fighting for trans rights. How dare you
when they
say
just
that
stuck a
trans
knife
people
in
should
your
be
back
treated
and
equally
twisted
in
that
society?
shit.
Don't you know that you're supposed to live as second-class citizens? So that I can feel better about myself when I give you rights? Literally spare me. This is ridiculous. But I think the real icing on the cake here is this tweet where Anna Kasparian has decided to unilaterally declare Jesse Singal to not be a transphobe, despite, and this is what's really wild, Jesse Singal literally talking to whistleblowers at a medical facility that appear to have made some significant HIPAA violations about their patients in sharing the information that they did with Jesse Singal. And of course, you have him running around spewing all of the same transphobic nonsense that basically your average transphobe is gonna be spreading. You know, the types of things about like, oh, we don't know about hormones, and oh, HRT for kids, and oh my god, it's so terrifying. Oh my goodness, they're turning all of our kids transgender. Oh my god.
Single is a good faith, I think, critical thinker. I'm subscribed to Blocked and Reported. I have listened to endless podcast episodes from Blocked and Reported. I haven't seen anything from Jesse Singal that communicates to me.
You guys see the screen name, Hunter Biden's crack pipe? I promise it's not my alt account.
That he is a bad person. He did straight news reporting on basically what, you know, some of the risks could be when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers and then cross-sex hormones. And through his reporting, which I'm very sad to say I didn't really come across until this year, I learned that I was wrong about a bunch of other things.
Like, Jesse Singal literally is one of the, like, more notable transphobic people that is out there putting out misinformation about trans people and actively stoking the flames of this big wave of anti-trans legislation. And it's just deeply shameless to come in and say, no, I definitely think, as a cisgender woman, think that Jesse Singal is not transphobic at all. So yeah, it's good, it's fine, trust me. And then of course she starts talking about like, oh, puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones for children. I think the important thing to understand here, and this is a line that I've like continuously told people and like said on TYT myself, that like really what it boils down to is hormone replacement therapy is literally just puberty. Like, at the end of the day, it's just puberty. And yeah, whether it's puberty with estrogen or testosterone, it's going to carry some risks just like it does with cisgender children. That's just part of puberty. And it's actually not all that different if it's a trans puberty or a cis puberty, believe it or not. And so anybody fear-mongering about the effects are permanent, yeah, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? You know? Isn't that like the whole point? But if the effects were really entirely permanent, then transitioning as an adult wouldn't really work, would it? And yet, of course, it does. And you know, it's funny because their biggest fear for what happens to children who are on hormone therapy is that a cisgender child might accidentally get gender dysphoria. You know, the thing that trans children just deal with if they're not allowed to get hormones. And so literally, this is just a nonsense argument of throwing all trans people under a bus out of the hypothetical fear that a cisgender person might take hormones and just realize that it's not for them. Which at that point, by the way, they could just stop taking hormones. And so really, when you take all this together, it seems like Anna Kasparian is fully engulfed into like the conspiracy theories against trans people. And I genuinely think that she believes a lot more than what she's saying, because I've just seen hints of like just some like extremely rabid transphobic nonsense. And with Cenk seems to be following Anna Kasparian along and kind of seems to be of the vibe of like, oh, no, I'm this big smart news guy and I've been doing this for a long time. I couldn't possibly be wrong, and very much relying on his lack of any type of understanding of biology and just making ridiculous assumptions about the difference between men and women and thinking that that's some sort of like universally applicable thing, not thinking about how hormones play a role in that, and of course is bouncing off of Anna's deeply transphobic energy. And of course he can't help himself but frame himself as like the brilliant galaxy brain reasonable person. And of course all these trans people are just ridiculous and out there and just radical. And couldn't possibly be, you know, referencing like very basic science that is easy to go through. And any attempts to educate either Anna Kasparian or Cenk has kind of just been met with a lot of stubbornness, of digging in their heels, rejecting the new information, and replacing it with their own imaginations about how they think things should be. And it just continues to escalate over the past several months. And that fundamentally is why I just can't be a part of TYT anymore. It's just too much. It's ridiculous. Because at a certain point it becomes embarrassing for me. Because how can I, as a trans person who actually knows the science behind this, who actually is like actively trying to support trans people, as somebody that people look up to me, right? People literally like send me messages and be like, I'm so inspired, you know, you being a TYT, like it made me want to come out, or like my kids watch your show and you know, it just like, it gives them so much hope and they're so excited to see.
And this is the part that's so hard, gang, because this is the same way you could say this about, you know, JR and Dr. Rashad Ritchie, you know, and Nina Turner, you know, they have great Black voices and Black content creators. TYT really did a great job of having a diverse stable of voices and faces and perspectives on their channel. But with that being said, you know, this is a bridge too far, and we have a responsibility to look out for each other. And I don't think they understand the situation that they're putting everybody in, because, you know, it's really sad that Ben, you know, isn't going to be there any longer. But like I said, it's been really hard to watch TYT content since Anna's initial transphobic comments. And, you know, I know, like myself, probably some other people have tried to still support the other content creators on the platform, which has been, it's a whole mess. It's like, you know, this atheist networks that are the same type of situation. But it just gets messy, and now they keep doubling down. So it's just really hard to support their platform at all at this point. But it is where I think we should be, because they're hurting and not helping, and they're not taking the progressive voice responsibly. They're doing more damage than they are support. So it's fucked.
Trans person in the news, and I have to deal with messages from them now asking about, hey, what's going on with TYT? Hey, what the hell is happening here? Like, why is Anna saying this? Why is Jenk saying this? And that is just like the amount of like psychic damage that I have to take every single day dealing with not only the transphobic nonsense of the Republicans, but also whatever Jenk and Anna are on right now. It's just too much. And I just,
Lena,
at a certain point, it becomes embarrassing
mess.
because then people think that I'm like endorsing their views, and I cannot. I will not. I refuse to lend any support to those views.
All right, pause the tape. My hot take is that this is a fucking Jedi mind trick in reverse. That, like, this is really what this has all been revealing, ACA here, all this shit, is that the right wing found a fucking issue that wins with essentially the conservative wing of the progressive people. And then, like, that to me is what's happening here. Is because this is a really big problem, and that's again what pisses me off so much about this is Jenk and Anna know this. They know that this is something that progressives are getting wrong. So this is just it's inexcusable. Actually, it's just plain inexcusable.
Because fundamentally they're dangerous and they're ridiculous and like they're straight up evil. It is just this shameless, selfish ignorance that is fueling this, and just this self-importance coming from both Jenk and Anna, this idea that they don't actually have to listen. So no, yeah, I'm done with TYT because I can't let anybody think that I have any type of support for their opinions here, because they're just ridiculous. And it's just gotten to be too much for me to deal with all of this nonsense. And the last thing I want is for them to be able to say, oh no, it's fine. We have like a transgender host, so it's all good actually. Because no, it's not all good actually. It is in fact quite bad.
Oof. All right. That was a lot, man. And yeah, I completely agree. It's been hard to watch TYT, and they've made it even worse. And yeah, I just can't do it right now. I know that they'll say that that's just people virtue signaling and cancel culture or whatever. You know, they'll do more right-wing talking points, gang. They'll do more right-wing talking points in response to all of this. But no, what it is you can't hurt people and expect people to stand by and watch. You can't expect people to continue to actively support your content when your content is fueling our enemies and not our allies. It's just yeah, it's other words, it's all right, I have a black friend. Yeah, it's exactly that. This is just terrible. This is just, like I said, this is a really unfortunate story. I was actually silly. It feels silly now, but really when Anna first made the whole birthing person comments, I was like checking TYT shit like every day because I was like any day now she's gonna issue like a public apology and try to clear the air. And then she went into a whole period of doubling down on Twitter, and I was like, oh, this is fucked. And then Jank showed up and he kind of doubled down. I was like, this is really fucked. And then since then, it's just gotten worse. And now they're just openly throwing trans athletes under the bus, just like the right wingers, which is good, right? Not good. I mean, good for them, right? This is what they want. Apparently, they think that this is where the left belongs. We belong in this space where, we want trans people to get married and have gender affirming care, but be excluded from participating in certain areas of society. And we're just not. And this is what I think makes our community different than a lot of atheist communities that self-identify as left or progressive or vote Democrat or whatever. Like they're on that same shit, that same bullshit. Like they're on that Professor Dave tip, that fucking rationality rules tip. Like it's a real issue that I think we have to make sure we're not papering over. And to me now, it's almost becoming a litmus test. Like I'm like, like when you tell me you're pro LGBTQIA, and now I got to know where you're at on the sports thing, because this is important. And if you give me some bullshit on that, then you're a fucking transphobe. Like it's like, it's sad, but it's not going to do us any favors to ignore the fact, because this is a ubiquitous narrative amongst the left, and it's super problematic. And again, if we lose friends over taking this stand, those are not friends that we wanted in the first place. So, yeah, exactly. No group gets left behind. We all get the same rights, period. All right, gang, look, I'm going to try to end this one kind of early tonight. I wanted to just keep it about this one thing. We're headed to gather. I've been having a lot of fun racing and just hanging out with the gang. It's been so good to see everybody in there. It's usually kind of a smaller crowd, but we've been having a lot of fun. Hopefully, we'll be doing some more events. Hopefully, we'll do a dance party this week. I got to get with Nitty. And we got to also start scheduling a poker night and shit. But anyway, there's a link in the description if you want to come link up with the gang. I think we'll also probably be talking about this whole Professor Dave situation and maybe the rationality rules situation, and figuring out if we want to make a stream about that. Maybe that'll be, maybe this is a thing we got to start doing. We got to start pulling the card to all these people on left. It kind of sucks, gang, because a lot of those channels could help smaller channels like ours, but they probably won't if we're calling them out. But at the same time, hopefully they understand that we're fans and we're people that, have supported their content for a long time. It's just this issue's critical, and we need people to understand that this is wrong. It's just the wrong take. If you consider yourself a person who supports equal rights but supports excluding particular people from sports, that is a bigoted position, and it is the wrong position. And when you think that somehow including trans athletes creates a negative situation for other people. You're missing the whole point of sports. You know, the whole point of sports is competition, is everybody getting a chance. It's you know, if me and Uncle Bobby got into a mixed martial arts competition, it wouldn't be a fair fight, but that's the nature of competition. He would get to benefit from his superior physique and superior genetics, but also his, you know, years of training and expertise and getting his body. That sports is all about those, but sometimes it's strategy. It's whatever it is. Like I always said, you know, they try to scare you with this example, like, you know, you're going to have a daughter and she's going to be a standout track star, but she's going to come in second in the state finals because there's going to be a trans girl who just runs 3 seconds faster than her. And I'm like, okay, go shake her hand and celebrate getting the silver medal. Like what again, gang, sports are games. And we just have to create a society where everyone can participate. And it can't be the situation, like Stephanie always brings up, it can't be the situation that trans people are only okay to participate when they're losing, because nobody plays sports to lose. So I feel like this is a change that is going to happen. It needs to happen. We need to accept that trans people need to have the same rights as all of us. That includes them participating in sports, and let the chips fall where they may. There's no record or accomplishment or reason that I can even imagine to exclude trans people from sports. And anything that would be is just, to me, a case that needs to be dealt with on an individual basis. Like, that's an exception of a person. But where do you do that? Where do you do that? Right? We've never told basketball players they're too tall. We've never told football players what did Jenk say? It's too easy for them to maintain muscle mass compared to everybody. Like, it's just bullshit, gang. I really think people just need to wrap their head around the fact that the only solution to this problem is everybody has equal access to participate in sports. Period. End of story. Trans girl, cis girl, doesn't matter, girls. Trans boy, cis boy, doesn't matter, boys. Everybody else, choose your own adventure. Seriously. I mean, that's to me, that's the only equitable way to go about this. And the rest of us just learn to live with it and learn to enjoy it, learn to celebrate the fact that we're moving towards a world where everybody gets to participate. I can't think of a better thing. I can't think of a thing to be happy about. As a sports fan, that's fucking phenomenal. So, man, if you get a chance to hug a trans athlete, let them know you love them. Let them know you care. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Come join us and gather. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Said I'm gone.